It was during his time in Markarth that the legendary dragonborn Pix met a man with a most unusual problem.
If it's about the Hall of the Dead, no, you can't go in there.
Why not?
I can't talk about it. Rest assured, the Jarl hears everyone's concerns. You will be able to visit the dead again soon.
I could help, if you tell me.
All right. I was going to suggest the Jarl hire someone to sort this mess out anyway. We've discovered that some of the dead have been eaten. Flesh has been chewed off. Bones were snapped to get at the marrow inside. We haven't caught anyone or anything yet. It's like it knows when I'm there. If you can get to the bottom of this, the priesthood of Arcade will reward you. Take my key, and be careful. Tread lightly in the hall. You don't know what's in there.
And so it was. The Dragonborn found himself with the task to investigate Markarth's Hall of the Dead.
Underneath the keep. The Shuan cell. Best stay clear if you don't want a steam
Understone Keep was the magnificent Dwemer ruin in which Markarth saw most of its political activities done. This was a very poorly written book, I'm sorry. The Hall of the Dead lay just at the edge of the Great Chamber. With the key, the Dragonborn stepped inside. He crept timid.
Not many would walk blindly into a crypt, smelling of steel and blood, but not fear.
He heard a voice.
I feel the hunger inside of you, gnawing at you. You see the dead, and your mouth grows wet. Your stomach growls.
It seemed to emanate from the very walls.
It's all right. I will not shun you for what you are. Stay. I will tell you everything you have forgotten.
Pix elected to remain within the hall.
You were young when you first tasted human flesh, weren't you? A brother or sister had died? An accident, of course. Then the hunger set in. Curiosity. What's the harm in just one bite? It's okay now. You found a friend who understands you. You can let go of your guilt.
I am not a cannibal. What are you trying to do to me?
A lot of our kind block out the memory of their first meal. The shame is too much. But you don't need to hide anymore. Namira, the Lady of Decay, accepts you for what you are. She has a place for us where we can sate our appetites without judgment.
I want no part of this.
Very well. But should the hunger call out to you, I'll be waiting outside Reachcliff Cave. Tell the people of Markarth that their dead are safe. My work is done here.
No. Wait! Don't go!
Not here. We will meet at Reachcliff Cave.
Curiosity had taken Pix. But his job was technically done. He would go and inform the priest of the hall's safety. But he knew now there was only one option for him. He had to go to Reachcliff Cave. He had to see what this was all about. Had he really indulged in a meal when he was a child? Or was she just telling lies? He realized now that he had gotten himself totally lost. Because he's a bit useless that way. However, it was a problem that could be solved with nothing more lost than a little pride.
Can't believe I'm home.
He wondered if the priest would be confused by his re-entering the hall from the same direction he entered in before. He then realized that the priest would probably realize there was a back door, given that he works there.
returned. What happened in the Hall of the Dead?
The Hall of the Dead is safe now.
Divines preserve you. You're a hero. We'll reopen the hall right away. Here, take my amulet as a reward. Arcade protect you.
With that business over with, he set off for Reachcliff Cave. He arrived there some hours later to find her waiting.
You've come. The Draugr infesting Namira's sanctuary are inside.
Wait here. I'll take care of them.
Then I'll wait.
Pix and Pooks did not like to be disturbed when clearing out
Clear
dungeons.
Namira's sanctuary of the undead. The dead exist to feed the living. Clear Namira's sanctuary of the undead.
This woman was a bit
Then I'll
pushy.
wait.
She clearly will not wait. However, Pix and Pooks was finally able to be rid of her, and so he set off. Draugr-infested ruins were nothing new to him, so he didn't feel like this would be anything worth getting too worked up about. He saw no Draugr as of yet, but actually there were two. His old cat's eyes were failing him. He checked to see whether or not Azura's star was clear and ready for use. It was. These Draugr were somewhat powerful. Evidently they would require some care. With one down, he was ready to charge his legendary bow. He could have done so beforehand, but he was unusually stingy with his soul gems, even though he had no good reason to be. One of his quirks, I suppose. It was now Archer versus Archer, only the enemy Archer had a powerful shout. Of course, Pix and Pooks had a shout of his own. Unfortunately, his shout aroused more Draugr. He could hear them crawling out of the woodwork, or in this case, stonework. The Death Lord was defeated, but he knew that others hid nearby. They had not yet detected him, however. The shout roused them, but they were not aware of its source. He could use this to his advantage. He crept further on, and the next Draugr revealed itself. A Death Lord and a Scourge. Fortuitous it was that Scourge's magic was weak against him, barely able to upset him at all. One more shot and the Scourge was down. A few more and the Death Lord would follow. He recharged his bow and was ready to continue. It was a time in the Dragonborn's adventures when he had swapped over to heavy armor, as he felt that light armor was something he was a little too familiar with. Unfortunately, this deficit meant that he was more vulnerable to attacks than he was before. It was a vulnerability he would soon overcome, but he was weary of it while it lasted. The old Draugr standing sleeping trick was one he was all too familiar with. He knew the path he had chosen was probably not correct, but he preferred it that way. But then he began to have his doubts. What if this path was correct? He decided to turn back to the noise of the pitter-patter of Draugr feet. It fell. Its friend would fall too. Three clean shots and the deed was done. It was worth coming back after all. Except when something like that happens. But the Dragonborn suspected that there was a way back up. The way he had initially chosen to come. Chosen? I mean chosen. Sorry, this book is very smudged, and I am a poor reader. He started to suspect that was going to become a thing. However, then he remembered he was the goddamn Dovahkiin, and if he needed to, he could sprint across that space, no problem. He looked directly at the chest of his desires. Remembered the words, and shouted. Apologies. The poisonous darts missed him as they always do, and he hopped back down, ready to resume his adventure. He rifled through the bodies of the dead. And crept onwards. More Draugr emerged, as he frankly suspected. This scourge would last little time. With a chest full of arrows, it fell. Its body stuck in the humiliating poison the paralytic position had left him in. If you swap the words poison and position, you will find yourself with a sentence. The end felt close now. Surely, Namira's shrine, Namira's sanctum, could not be so huge. As far as he was concerned, only a couple more rooms could possibly exist. Pardon me. Rifling through urns, even though the amount of gold they contained was less than insignificant to him now, he opened the iron door, and before him he saw Draugr. He paralyzed them both with 2 swift shots, but it would not be long before they stood once more. Weaken them both. That was his plan. They readied their shouts. One shout was stronger than the other, taking him just about all the way back down the hall.